We're also going to be offering a 10-week CBTC coaching intensive. And so that's going to entail 10 weeks of intensive coaching on a group and a one-on-one level. We're going to be working with two separate groups. So we'll be working with a group that's advanced, folks who have a little bit more functionality. And we'll be working with folks that need just a little bit more assistance in terms of helping them to navigate what their next moves are. And then we're going to conclude with a commencement ceremony to acknowledge and honor them and just really highlight the work that they've done throughout the process.
You know how to do that?
Folks who sign up and participate opportunity to earn up to $7,000. That's not per person, that's in total. And so it really will be based on their attendance and their participation, how much of that stipend they will receive. That's the long and short of it. I'm open to any questions that anybody may have. Thank you.
I don't even know.
Thank you, Kwame. So in the Q&A, Kwame, there may be some things that pop up that relative to your presentation. And you feel free to just respond directly with a typed response, or we can address some of these questions verbally after we complete the presentation portion. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to shift now to talk a little bit about Mandela House Undivided. So Nelson Mandela, that's a quote attributed to him, that the world is divided into those that are comfortably housed and those where housing is a constant struggle for survival. I think we can all agree with the wisdom of this statement and how true it is. Mandela House program staff are here to break down that division. And that's why, we are calling the Community Council Mandela House Undivided. The Community Council is a group of stakeholders made up of unhoused residents, housed community members, business owners near the property and the identified encampments. It also have representatives from faith organizations, advocates, and others who meet on a regular basis to serve in an advisory role to provide guidance and support the non-congregate interim housing program run by HCB.
If you're tuning in, this is Poor People's Radio. Myself, Miguel, and Diego here. We're watching the non-profiteers and their non-solutions.
Buy-in and needs
basically talk about us without us. As per usual. We appreciate you all for tuning in. This is a
assisting with ongoing communication
community
with the
meeting,
and
which used to be
and external
an in-person
services
community
and
meeting,
volunteering opportunities,
but they switched it overnight to Zoom. I wonder why.
Towards permanent housing, jobs, and other
the extended
outcomes.
stay is the place where they're putting all houseless relatives who were lucky enough to get that quote-unquote placement when they were violently removed from Mosswood Park,
the unhoused,
and now next week
going
to be violently removed from East 12.
While HCB will be responsible for
they say they have a Q&A. I don't know, but we're here and we're definitely Q&A and we'll be commentating because they can't case mangle and non-profiteer they way out of houselessness without us. And shout out to Wood Street Commons, shout out to Love and Justice in the Street, shout out to Where Do We Go, shout out to Etna Street, all the warriors who are actually houseless and poor people creating our own solutions. Homefulness, Wood Street Commons, Etna Street.
Of those members, they may also be current residents of Mandela House, and they who shall serve on the council on a rotating basis. They could be a representative of a faith organization within the service area, 3 house neighbors who live within the service area or in the vicinity of one of the identified encampments, a representative, either staff or business owners who work within the service area, 2 representatives from community-based organizations, advocacy groups, or nonprofit organizations that work directly on homeless and or neighborhood wellness. For instance, providing direct services, mutual aid, homelessness support, etc. A representative with financial or fundraising expertise within the service area or in the vicinity of one of the identified encampments. And if anyone, and any of you are interested in joining the Mandela House Undivided Community Council, I strongly urge you to send an email to mandelahouse@hceb.org with your resume, qualifications, and a brief summary of why you are interested in serving on the community council. It's very informal, it can be very brief.
What about a PhD in poverty? What about a life of houselessness? Why would you even be asking
a statement? It's more about
this without us?
Why you're interested.
For those of you who don't know, these are jail-like motel rooms where they've removed the appliances, they've removed the ability to even be in community.
Very, very soon. All right, so I think I'd like to go through, I've noticed that the panelists have already started responding to many of the questions, the Q&A. I'm gonna go through here and see what else we've got. So there's a question about what about the residents that are currently living in the transitional housing and do not qualify for the PSH? Will they be moved to another shelter? So great question. Everybody who comes into Mandela House will be, as Marichelle mentioned, will be entered into the HMIS system, will be connected with coordinated entry, and will be receiving or will be matched to housing, hopefully within the 12 months that they're with us. Some of those folks may be matched with the PSH that will become Mandela homes. That is a possibility, but we do not control that. That's a function of the county. But we welcome all those matches to Mandela homes, and when that happens, those folks will basically transition from being program clients to tenants. They'll have a lease contract. They'll start having to paying rent. Based on affordable rent at 30% of area median income.
Whoa, what?
And they'll have all the rights of a tenant, and we'll have a tenant landlord relationship instead of a program and participant relationship.
If we had rent, we wouldn't
for
be
the
living
folks
in a
who
tent.
don't get matched to Mandela homes, they may get matched elsewhere to other permanent supportive housing sites, other affordable sites, and they will. They'll make their transition at whatever point that happens during their stay with us.
So we're here. Poor People's Radio.
I'll also ask you to say a little bit more about
bringing this non-profiteer
services that are going to be provided post
to y'all
sunset
from the extended
Mandela
stay, which is this jail-like motel rooms that are being quote unquote offered to a few people who were violently removed out of Mosswood Park and are about to be violently removed from East 12.
To 10 months, providing tenancy sustaining services or any support that they would need. So we will follow them wherever they're at.
Okay. And so there's a question here saying that the transition to permanent supportive housing may be at risk if the city does not bond soon.
Can I answer that question?
Oh, you did. Thank you.
No, I was going to say I can speak to it. So I was going to say, all I can share is that that question, it seems like it would be referencing Measure U dollars. And so the Measure U dollars, which was voter approved, would allow for the city to sell bonds in order to raise money.
So I just want to let listeners know, Poor People's Radio poverty scholars always in struggle for $1.
I just want to share, like every time
because the lie of rent
people
over here at Home Fullness
to answer for the entire city.
But we just tried to
just
chat
give
a
a disclaimer
question
that
in
I'm one
multiple
manager,
times, and they said the
at
chat
the
is
city. I'm over the
disabled.
homeless housing
So I don't know who's chatting.
development team, but we have
but
3
it
other
isn't
housing
us.
development managers that also manage affordable housing. And so speaking from the lens of this particular project, we would need the Measure U bonds to be sold in order to generate the funds that are needed in order for the rehabilitation for phase 2 to actually happen. I think what's fortunate about this scenario, well, I won't speak on that. I'll just say that we do need the Measure U bonds to be sold. And the timeline that the development team gave us was that they would be able to start in April of next year. So we are relying on Measure U in order to fund the rehab work for this project in April of 2026. So I hope that answers the question. But if you have more questions about the PSH conversion as it relates to the building, those are the questions.
I want to know why you use Mandela's word
email address
in this non-profiteer non-solution. That's what I want to know. It's desecrating the revolution of Mandela.
Thank you, Shalon. Let's see. So there's a question about what are the assumed responsibilities for the participants who come into Mandela House? Marshall, did I ask that clearly enough?
Yeah, so I think daily we will have wellness checks, and they also have to participate in the program by meeting with their housing navigators and developing a housing supports plan that is sustainable. Basically, letting us know of what their barriers are, and completing their assessments. Of course, we cannot get their documents for them, so they will have to work on that, work on getting document ready so they can possibly be housed to permanent supportive housing. Um, we also have a 72-hour bed abandonment policy. So if they need to be gone for longer periods of time, they have to let us know. So we won't consider them as having to have had abandoned their beds. And yeah, not fighting and doing any illegal activities. Right? Is that no physical threats, violence, and illegal activities?
And I saw another question, or a couple questions actually, Marshall, about the move-in costs. And I think this is a reference to the funds that we would make available to folks as they transition to either our permanent supportive housing or other permanent supportive housing.
So it doesn't only cover permanent supportive housing. If they can find like their own place to rent, we will also help with that. If it's market rate.
How are we going to find our own things to rent? There's a housing crisis going on. We got 16 relatives right now. We're dealing with houselessness.
They
are coming to all of us as poor people trying to figure out where are we going to go. I mean, the places to rent. These people are out of touch beyond belief.
Thanks for that. Okay, I'm just scrolling through. Sorry, it caught me reading. Oh, Marshall, do you want us to say a little bit more about what harm reduction means for this program?
So for us, basically for everyone to be safe, we will be providing a harm reduction corner where they can have safe needles and other things. We purchased some sharp containers, and so we acknowledge that our clients they have substance use issues, and that means it won't mean that that would exit them from the program, but we will try to help them be safe and be a an active program participant. So even though they're having issues, we hope and we will support them in getting their documents ready, connecting them to services, and doing their housing applications.
Thank you. Okay, there's a question, how often are wellness checks being completed?
Who's asking these questions?
So
We can't ask
ideally,
questions.
it has to be
Listeners, I want you to
done
know that. I
morning
don't know
during
if
the
some of
morning
y'all
shift
can.
and the swing shift. And the graveyard
They're
shift,
talking to
that's from
themselves
11 to 7,
about
will
themselves.
do wellness checks while in the lobby or whenever they see a client out in the common areas. But during morning and swing shift, they should be knocking on doors and just checking on the clients. If a client is seen outside the room, like in the lobby or at the parking lot, then that's a positive wellness check. And it says here they are being checked even outside. We don't do wellness checks when they are not on site unless they are missing. Like if they're missing for more than 72 hours, we will check the community health records. We will try to find them at the hospitals, or if they provided a next of kin or emergency contact, or the prison system, the jail system, we're going to check on that too. But we don't do wellness checks while they're not on site. What they do outside is none of my business.
Thank you, Cheryl. So there's a couple questions. One is about the parking lot. And so the parking plan includes use of parking spaces for folks who are coming into the program. I don't have the parking plan open in front of me, but I believe it's one space per room, and it has to be an operable vehicle. So it's we're not allowing folks to work on their vehicles while in the parking lot. They can't bring in a vehicle that's not registered to them. Anything else, Marichelle, that I'm missing?
Yeah, no, it can be not registered to them, but
Okay.
not stolen vehicles. They cannot
Gotcha.
be stolen.
So it can't be a different vehicle every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
About that.
Okay, got it. And then let me see. Just to mention, there was a mention of the large parking lot. We are actually also, this is way too premature to share too many details here, so I apologize if I'm being a little obtuse, but we are actively talking with groups about doing some programming in the parking lot, both for the folks who are staying at Mandela House, but also for other folks in the community. So again, it's way too early to share anything on that. But that's something that will be coming up as in part of our conversations when the community council kicks off. So there's a question about the appliances removal from the kitchen, and I'm going to go ahead and take that, unless Ali, you want to take that one.
That was our question. We got a question in.
Okay, so when we transition this property to permanent supportive housing, we have to provide working appliances. That's part of our responsibility as a housing person, as a landlord in a tenant landlord relationship. So it's very important for us that many of these appliances are operable when we do the transition next year. It's actually very critical. It's a financial issue. We do not have the budget to replace a bunch of appliances, especially in the first year. So we had to make the tough decision to take the appliances offline for the interim period. We are going to be utilizing a couple of rooms on the first floor to create kind of like day room where it's gonna, the typical hotel furniture will be out. It'll be more couches and hangout space with televisions. Those kitchens will be operable, so folks can come in and cook meals if they wish. So that's the whole intent there. I know that's not a very popular response, but I just wanted to be clear that that's why those are the facts behind the decision. Okay.
They're taking people's
I'm seeing if I missed.
so that they can't actually have any sovereignty, so they can't cook in their room, so they can't have friends over, so they can't stay and take
to
care
reiterate,
of themselves.
we will be sunsetting the program in March, March-ish, possibly April 2026. And folks can stay right up to that day. Our hope, though, is many folks will have been matched to housing opportunities, or as Marichelle brought up earlier.
No, they won't, because that's what always happens. Just like the cabins, these people have an expiration date on their so-called solutions, and they lose their funding, or they stop being interested in it, or they've gotten over all the excitement of the beginning moment and moved people out of their street communities. And so that we're all isolated and have no community. And then guess what? They close the program. A shout out to our family at Wood Street Commons and Poor Magazine, Homefulness, and so many who went out there because they're about to close the cabins completely and leave everybody outside. No, there is nowhere else for us to go.
We will circle back with you and get this information to you. My concern, though, is I don't think we have some of the questions that are being asked. We don't have email addresses for response. So if you could, if you've put in a question that we're going to follow up with later, please make sure we have your email address. And let's see. Oh, there's a question about housed and unhoused neighbors, the number of folks on the community council. So this community council structure was developed many years ago, actually, prior to the opening of another program that was launched in Oakland for tiny homes. And that was the structure that was drafted by one of the city council.
Okay, so I just want to name that we put in the chat, when will they actually have a community meeting where they invite the community in? That's the question. I noticed they've sidestepped it. They haven't answered it. I want to point that out. That's our question. We're still waiting for our community meeting.
House neighbors, advocates, so on. And that balance can shift. That was really just, I'll just reiterate, the council shall strive to have members that make up the following. It's more of a guideline. It's not a strict like bylaws requirement. So I do feel like there's there would be a chance for much higher currently unhoused or some people with lived experience on the council than others, based on the interests I've heard of so far.
How about their own tenants? How about their own community? How about them being on the council? How about the people who are living there running the place? How about that? Land back?
So there's a question, when will you have an actual community meeting that's open to people's questions? That's an excellent question. So next Monday, the 5th, District 2 and Supervisor Nikki Bass's office are hosting a community meeting at Ibasi in the San Antonio district.
So we gotta go there.
But that's not.
We can pull that information together. I don't know if there's a flyer yet for that. Have you seen one, Shalon? I have not either. Okay. We'll circle back with the supervisor's office in District 2, see if we can get a.
But that's not you. That's not any of the management. That's Nikki Bass's office.
Sent this flyer out. Oh, there is a flyer for the Monday meeting, Monday the 5th. Okay. I just got that update from an anonymous attendee, so we will find that flyer and get it out to this group.
How about you actually have the tenants make the decisions in the building? That's what we need. I'm gonna put that question, see if they answer it. Okay, here we go.
All right. Okay, thank you. They're gonna send me the flyer. Appreciate it. I don't know who they are, but I appreciate them. Any other questions? This question, how about the tenants becoming the management of the building? I'm not sure if that's meaning like a self-governed interim housing site or a co-op like situation and for permanent supportive housing. What we can, the community council is a way for folks to be involved in the management of the building in both phases. We'll keep the community council going once we transition to PSH if there's still interest from all involved. That is the way for folks to have a say, to be part of decisions that are made, and for setting the guidelines for the community. If we didn't get to your question, we will be responding to you via email. Again, please give us your email address.
Now, we asked about what gets you evicted from this non-profiteer non-solution.
And again, if these are questions regarding encampment management, we will be getting the questions to the appropriate person to respond to you. But please give us your email address if you wish to have that response.
We want the response right now. How do you get evicted from this non-solution? We said we put it in the chat. They're not answering. It's right there.
The question is there a place for families to go with young children? There are family shelters. They are impacted. I will be honest, there's not a lot of availability. HCB does not operate in that sector, unfortunately. So we'll get some good referral information in response and get that out to you if you ask that question. Question about what kinds of things can people bring from their camp to their room. So Marshall, do you want to take that?
Basically their personal belongings, clothes, important documents, medication. They can,
That's
yeah. Should I talk about what they cannot bring or only what they
this is more about what, let's talk about what they can and
they can bring? Yeah, they can bring those things.
And how much belongings and what is, maybe talk a little bit about the process too, so folks understand.
So when we are inviting folks to move in, we give them a bag. I think it's about 24 gallon or 30 gallon, and then a bin. They can have about two of those, 2 bags and 2 bins, and that'll be okay.
Okay.
Is that?
Aaron?
Yes.
I just wanted to say I accidentally on the last question on the screen. Is that a question you're going to answer via email about what is the eviction policy?
Yes.
Okay, because I put
No,
answer
actually, no,
live.
I was going to answer live. I was going to.
Okay, I put live by accident, and I didn't want them to think that we weren't going to address this. So I'll put it down, and you can go ahead and go for it. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
got it. Yeah, so there, for an interim housing program, there is no eviction policy. The eviction comes into play when someone has tenants' rights. The folks living at Mandela House in this first year of operations as a program will not have tenants' rights. But we do not exit folks indiscriminately. So, Marichelle, do you want to say a few words about that process for program exit when and if it comes to that?
Yeah, so to clarify, immediate exits only happen very seldomly. It happens when they get involved into violence. They threaten staff with violence and other program participants. What other things? Illegal activities that could also lead to a program exit, but or severe property damage. Uh, but in most cases, we work with the clients into mediating or resolving issues. If they get a write up for unsanitary unit conditions, or they brought something that it's not supposed to be there, like a weapon or something.
Cloud would last
We
about
try
1
to
second.
we
You mean like
always
hoarder clutter, like
advocate
all of
for
us
them.
struggle
Our
with?
goal is not to kick them out, kick them back out in the street, but to uh, help them stay inside. There are times when I want to exit a client, but my staff won't let me. So it's getting it's really hard. So, but if there are times when they have to exit the client, it's because there was severe property damage, threats of violence, and illegal activities.
Are there cooling off periods, Marichelle? Sometimes?
Yeah. So for first offense, it could be verbal, and then second offense, they could be asked to leave the program for 3 days, come back after 3 days, and be on an action plan. If still there's an action plan and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then that might lead to a program exit. There are several steps before you get exited from the program.
Okay. There's it's like a question about what are folks sleeping on? These are hotel mattresses in bed frames.
Yeah.
In the rooms.
Hotel quality linens and bed sheets and comforters. Very nice.
And there's a follow-up question about what if they aren't in the room for over 3 days? We mentioned that earlier that if we can't find somebody for 72 hours and they didn't give us prior notice that they were leaving the premises, or someone doesn't get in touch with us and give us a sense of where they are, or we can't find them in the various systems, they are, Marichelle, at that point they are exited?
That's not okay.
So
that's how Green Eyes, evaluated Green Eyes in
we
LA.
haven't seen them for
What if you have an
72
medical
hours,
emergency?
then we would call
If you have a medical emergency like Green Eyes in Tavangar and have to go to the hospital, that's how she ended up back in a tent. And she did not want to lose her room. That is why she transitioned EYA. That's bullshit.
leads, then they'll be exited for bed abandonment.
Okay. Thank you. All right. There's a question. It's it's not a question. It's a statement, I guess. There seems to be no clear plan for the folks who don't match to the Mandela House once it transitions to PSH. I would argue that that's not true. Everybody that comes into Mandela House as a program will be receiving housing navigation and other support services, services also provided by Kwame's group, ancillary community building events and services that will be provided on site as well that are in the planning, all in the hopes of moving folks on to permanent housing. Matching to Mandela homes is only one of the many options that people will be in line for. We don't know, who is going to get matched to other housing opportunities or who's going to find other housing opportunities in the community at this point. But we're working every day towards that goal for each individual that's staying with us. So there is a plan. And one of the plans is that they can transition to Mandela homes, but that is out of our hands, as is the rest of the process of matching. All we can do is get people ready and make sure that they've got everything they need to make that transition as seamless as possible.
All I know is there's no
the goal is to not move people back to the street
and they need their own
at the end of the Mandela House program.
And the
goal is that folks will have linked already with housing opportunities or other program options by the sunset date. And that will require that folks work closely with us and stay connected to their support staff to make this possible.
What if one person from a couple gets in? Will their partner be able to join without going through the outreach process? So program participants can bring in the 3 Ps, their property, partners, and pets.
Thank you, Shel. We've got a couple more minutes. Again, if we don't get to your question, we will get the information to you via email. Some of these questions require us to go back and people are asking for data and some financial information, things like that we need to go back and get the clear answers. I think that's about it. I don't see any more messages coming in.
We asked them when they're going to allow the houseless and now theoretically temporarily housed communities to take sovereignty over their own building, and they didn't answer that.
Anything else anyone would like to share from the panel this time?
Poverty scholars know what's best for us. They need to run that building. That's self-determination. The city's not going to allow that.
But why we're holding a meeting in the San Antonio neighborhood, even though this is a West Oakland project?
This is on Zoom.
Darren, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, so that's because a large portion of the folks coming to Mandela House are coming from the East 12th median encampment, which is in the San Antonio neighborhood. And so we've been working on the community outreach side with both Councilmember Kaplan's office as well as Councilmember Fife's office, because both districts are impacted by this program and these closures. So that's the whole reason. That also there was a request from Supervisor Bass to hold that meeting in that neighborhood to meet with the neighbors there as well. So That's why we're meeting all over the place to make sure that we're able to talk with folks. And let's see, there are some questions that are about the encampment process, and we said from the start, we are not addressing those tonight. We will get answers for you and respond.
Right. Oh my God.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up if we're all good.
No, we're not good at all.
Thank you,
We've
Darren.
never been good.
Thank you.
And I thank everybody for joining,
For
for
joining
providing questions. Please, again, get your email.
Okay, whatever, that shit show. You're listening again to Poor People's Radio, PNN KEXU 96.1 FM on the dial. Yeah, we here in Uchun at the unpimped, unplayed, unbought, unsold, beautiful, sacred Ohlone Lashan land we call homefulness. And Mood, I guess you're going to take us out. I do want to say to relatives that I hope you heard they will be having a community meeting in and regarding the violent removal of houseless relatives at East 12. We know that's a long time community there. For the fact that they're even talking about that they're planning it, that they're sending out these police trucks and garbage trucks and endless amounts of sheriff and police cars to violently remove us from our communities. That's the issue. All of this other, they're non-profiteer solutions. That's not a solution. And what we're saying is, let us stay where we are because you have no solutions. Right. Give us land back. So I would urge people to show up on May 5th at that event. But yeah, the politics are going to continue doing politics. And like our brother Leroy says, politics didn't build homefulness. So shout out to Wood Street Commons, our fellow relatives. Shout out to Etna Street Solidarity. Shout out to all the warriors who are actually creating our own solutions for self-determination. We're going to close out tonight, Poor People's Radio.
Yeah, and again, if you're confused as we are, rightfully so, again, they're just giving us the runaround, like Sister Tiny is saying, not a real solution, just a temporarily Band-Aid for a year, and again, yeah, destroying communities in the name of creating communities. So that's all for today's broadcast of Poor People's Radio. You can follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, at Poor Magazine, at Poverty Scholar, and Poor News Network on YouTube. You can also get these complete Poor People's Radio podcasts with all the interviews and conversations of any of our previous archive shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or whatever you get your podcast from. All power to the people.
Oh, my dear.